Today on CityLine, miles, milestones, and community. The runners and advocates creating a sport for all. Good morning to you, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm Jessica Brown. Tomorrow is the 130th running of the Boston Marathon. WCVB is proud to be the exclusive local broadcast partner of the Boston Athletic Association. And as athletes prepare to take on the 26.2-mile stretch from Hopkinton to Boylston Street, there are several groups advocating for a more inclusive sport. Joining me now, we have Thaddeus Miles, founder of HoodFit and the Road to Wellness, and Kimberly Chisolm, executive director of the 26.2 Foundation. Thank you both so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How do you feel? Marathon Monday is here. We're right here at the weekend. How does it feel as we're getting closer to Marathon Day?
I'm super excited for Marathon Day, especially for those running their first marathon and for those running with purpose, whether that's for somebody that's had cancer or some other challenges, but those that have tapped into themselves and had the courage to actually step up to be able to complete this 26.2 miles.
Absolutely. And how about you?
I agree. You know, you really see the elite athlete down to the everyday hero out there on Monday, so it's certainly an inspiring day, and we're all excited for it.
So inspiring to watch, right? So Thaddeus, I want to start with you here. You're the founder of HoodFit, a group that empowers Boston's Black community to embrace physical and mental health. That has paved the way for the Road to Wellness, which is an annual 5K run and 2-mile walk through Roxbury. So what led you to create this race, this organization?
Well, honestly, I had my own health crisis. I was in the gym and I almost died. And from that, I realized that I wasn't doing the stuff that I needed to do to take care of myself. I was letting stress and anxiety and other issues really push me in a direction that wasn't healthy. And so lifting weights was not it. And so I decided to start running. And then I learned about the life expectancy disparities between Roxbury and Back Bay being 33 years. And friends of mine were running marathons and other pieces, so I'm like, we need one in Roxbury, right? To get people to think about wellness as a norm and not an exception.
I love that. How do they make running a space for everyone?
Right. I think the biggest thing for me is to make it about community, right? To make it something that is not just about running, it's about movement. It's about yourself and it's about tapping into yourself, but also making sure that you have a connection. That when you come to the Road to Wellness, it's like a family reunion, right? Whether that's your first time there or any other time. And it's really about connecting to yourself, understanding what joy and healing and recovery really looks like.
Really quickly, I want to ask you how the Road to Wellness serves as a launch pad for the Boston Marathon. Well,
I think the one thing is, when I say Road to Wellness, I also like to add Dr. Maisha Jordan, who's now the president or CEO of the NAARP. She was one of the co-founders along with the BAA. And so for us, it's really about connecting the runners. And we have a training, and our trainer is not only trains in the summer, he's also a marathon coach. And so we've been able to work with the BAA and others to get some bibs. And so people are running the 5K, the 10K, the half, if I've ran all of those. And hopefully when I'm 65, I'll be able to run the marathon. But for right now, it's really, people have a trail and a pathway to start from the Road to Wellness to another 5K to a 10K to a half marathon and then to the marathon.
It's all about starting, right?
Right.
Kim, I want to talk with you here because you lead the 26.2 Foundation. Talk about how this organization works to celebrate every runner.
Absolutely. So our goal really is to be the global point of connection for the world's marathons. And a lot of our programming is to honor, celebrate, inspire, and educate. And I think the community aspect is certainly a really important part of that. Thanks to friends like Thaddeus and Black Unicorn Marathoners, we've really been able to bring in more people to be able to tell their stories. There's an event that we do in partnership with the Hopkinton Center for the Arts. It's called Stories and Songs. And we have 4 or 5 marathons come and share their stories. So these are those folks that are out in the community and doing their thing, and they may never have an opportunity to share what they're doing, but we bring them together, they share their story, we connect that with music, and it becomes a platform to inspire and uplift others.
Yeah, it uplifts other athletes, people who are listening in on their stories. I want to continue here because Boston has made, we know, major strides in creating a more inclusive running community. I'll start with you, Thaddeus, here. How can our city act as a model for others in your view?
Well, I think we already are a model, right? When it comes to, like, when I think about the Road to Wellness, I think about Peace Runners in Chicago, which is another gentleman that just started an initiative, right? Didn't ask for permission. He found that, there were health disparities in his communities, like there are in most communities around the country, that are disadvantaged communities in some ways. And he found that his mother's health was probably the same as mine. And he actually started an initiative running with 20 people, and now they have thousands. And they just turned a liquor store into a wellness center. But I think you have to look deeper than just the Boston Marathon. You have to look at the other organizations that are out here doing their work. So when I think about pioneers, right? When I think about trailblazers, when I think about the 1 mile, I think you got to look at the core of what running is. When you start to think about marathons or anything else, everybody thinks about it as an elite event, but it's really part of the city, and you really have to focus on who's the core elements that are creating pathways in order to get the Boston Marathon to be, or any marathon to be, what it is.
Absolutely. And Kim, your foundation is working to make the International Marathon Center a reality. We do have some renderings we're going to show you in just a moment here. What will the center be designed for? What will it feature?
That's a great question. So we are, again, trying to build a global hub for the world's marathon. So we'll have a beautiful visitor experience, but then we'll also have classroom space, an auditorium, special event space. So think year-round, celebrating the marathon through special speaker series, bringing in sort of the best athletes or folks from around the world to be able to share their stories and connect them to maybe students who might otherwise not know about what it takes to run a marathon. We have 19 acres, about a half a mile from the start of the Boston Marathon, where we will be building this. We'll be able to do trails, all kinds of indoor and outdoor activities, but really a place to celebrate and to be a platform for people to share their inspirational stories.
Certainly a lot of interest for that here, right?
Yes.
Where does the project stand now?
Yeah, so we've done a lot of the due diligence behind the scenes, getting all of the architectural renderings, the galleries, the site planning and all of that. So right now we're in the quiet phase of our capital campaign, and our goal would be to move that public in about a year, have a shovel in the ground, and get it built within the next 3 years.
Amazing. Thaddeus, Kim, we appreciate you both for being here and the work that you both are doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, coming up, recognizing the pioneers of running while focusing on the future. How a local entrepreneur is fostering community with every stride and every stitch.